Yo, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everything in between. Welcome back to another live stream here on TA with McKay. My name is, of course, McKay. Mr. Patel, welcome to the stream, brother. Good to see you here. I hope you're having yourself a good Tuesday, assuming that, I don't know what time zone everybody's in, but I'm assuming everywhere's still Tuesday. But then again, I don't know. It could be already Wednesday morning somewhere in this world of ours. So it's Tuesday where I'm at, 6 p.m. Eastern time. I actually live in Mountain Time Zone, so it's 4 o'clock. I just got off work about a half an hour ago. Let me know if the volumes are okay. You are in New Jersey Eastern Time Zone, so it is 6 p.m. where you're at. So when I tell you 6 p.m., you know right when that is. Let's see here. Cancel whatever the heck this is. Cancel. Oh, we're going to give it just a couple minutes to see if anyone else joins the stream. Patel, what do you do for a living, my friend? Or are you already retired off of crypto? Volume is good. That's what I like to hear. It wasn't good on my first streams, but I messed with some of the mic settings, and I think we've got it all about where we want it. We just want to make sure that we have a little bit of music, so, something to bob our head to, but that you can still hear me good. So that's the key. You're an IT manager. There you go. That's actually a good job, I'm sure. So you've been doing that for quite a while. Ah, Joe, my friend. Welcome again, man. I'm so glad you always stop in. How did your stream go today? What did you talk about? Let me know what you had to say on your stream. So anyway, guys, while we're kind of waiting for chat to stop in, another thing I wanted to mention too is that at the end of the video, for however much time we have, could be 15 minutes, could be 30, depending on how quick I get through my topics. And also, obviously, how many suggestions we have. But my formula that I use, or, my chart that I use, which has price projections based on position rankings for coins, I want to apply that to, some coins that you guys suggest. And so if you want to, type those in the chat, I can, take reference or note of them. And then towards the end, and even if you can't stick around for the full stream, if you did suggest a coin and I have time to get to it, of course, I will do the TA on it, not the TA, sorry, the price projection formula to it. And then you can always watch the video back later. Of course, these live streams get posted the next day. Usually YouTube takes a little while to upload these streams, especially when they're like an hour long. But they'll get them uploaded, and then if you're not here the whole time, but you had a coin, you can check back on it. Joe says his stream went well. Of course it did. You're good at what you do. He says, I talked about why I don't watch USDT. Okay, so USDT dominance would be, so USDT, everybody knows, is obviously Tether. It's probably, I shouldn't say probably, it is the most used coin, right? Not coin, but stable coin to buy crypto. Of course, USDC, I believe, is probably second. So basically what he's saying is he doesn't care whether or not its dominance is going up. Typically people subscribe to the idea that if USDT or Tether dominance is going up, that probably means people are taking their money out of crypto and putting it into Tether. But that might not be the case. It could also be bullish if a lot of people are buying Tether, getting ready to, deploy that to coins. I mean, it's just hard to get a good feel on what's going on with the market just off of that. So he's saying he just talked about why he doesn't use that or even look at it at all. And then he says, or total, he doesn't use any of the charts like total 2, total 3, because I can see what they're doing based on what crypto is doing. Smiley face. Yeah, I like that idea. I like what you're saying there. He also talked to his people, all the people bragging about 6,000% using 75x and higher leverage. Yeah. Leverage will get you wrecked. I don't care if you get lucky once or twice, and I say lucky because if you're using 75x leverage, you are literally gambling. In fact, anything over like a 3x leverage to me, I mean even 2x or 3x is gambling still, but apply the right TA to it. You can use low leverage, maybe even up to 5, if you're timing your entries right and dollar cost averaging into that kind of thing. But at the end of the day, just set aside a little more capital that you can afford to lose and just DCA in spot style. Get in there in the spot trades. That way, if there's a big crash that comes or a black swan event happens, because really even 2x is not safe in crypto, especially anything outside of maybe Ethereum and Bitcoin. You see 50% or more crashes all the time. Joe says, I agree completely with what you just said in reference to. USDT can increase if people are buying USDT. you know, I would actually fall into that category. I am just getting ready to open up a BY DeFi account, and so I'm going to get me some USDT deployed onto that. It's not going to be a whole lot to move the chart, but you know what I'm saying. If me and 7 million other people were happen to be doing the same thing, getting ready to buy what we hope is a bigger dip, you know, in fact, that's a lot of times what's happening. Smart money may be getting ready for the dip, you know, but at the same time, they also aren't necessarily taking their crypto and selling it. They're just maybe getting ready to buy more crypto. So you can look at it a couple ways. Yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. So just a heads up, guys. Again, the topics that we're going to be going over in today's stream. I hope everybody is having a good day, by the way. Remember, if you're new to the channel and haven't already, do me a favor, like, subscribe. If I haven't earned the right to get your subscription yet, stick around. We'll see if we can get it from you. But it really does help the channel. And we'll smash the like on the way in as well. If you don't want to smash it, give it a nice light, you know, tap. I do appreciate that. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday. That's what today is, Tuesday. The topics we're going to be going over is when there'll be potentially an alt season. Now, I'm not actually going to talk about a date. I know this title can be misleading, of course, without context. I'm not going to sit here in today's video and say that on July 14th we're having an alt season. All I'm going to say is a little bit of the charts, what we're looking for, go over a couple of charts that I look at that kind of give me an idea of maybe what we want to see line up in order for a potential alt season to happen. I wanted to talk a little bit about Shiba Inu. It's one of those coins that I've traded probably 4, maybe 5 times, only once this bull run, but quite a bit last bull run. And for whatever reason, it's always been good to me. It feels like one of those meme coins that's, you know, I believe it's the second largest behind Doge, that smart money sometimes likes to play with. It's almost like the smart money uses Shiba as their gambling coin rather than, you know, some of the smaller cap coins because they can put more money into it. It likes to follow Doge, which we'll talk about, but I just wanted to kind of go over its chart. It's a coin that even though I know nothing about fundamentally, I just like to trade it because it seems like when altcoins start to go, Shiba really goes. And then we're just going to briefly discuss what moving averages are. For those of you that are experienced or even semi-experienced in crypto, you'll already know that. We won't spend much time on it. I just want to do a segment each day in some of these live streams where we talk about something very basic for some of the new people. The whole idea with that part of the, you know, the live stream each day, if you want to write these things down, is you want to be able to put as many ideas together in trading or investing in this case, or whatever it is that you're doing in crypto, together, pointing in the same direction, whether you're trying to be bearish or you're trying to be bullish and look for, you know, positions to buy or add to positions. The word for that is confluence. You're just looking for confluence, and indicators can, you know, pile together or couple together can serve as confluence. Joe, nothing else has been added so far in chat. So again, if you guys have any questions, of course, as I'm going along, I will periodically check chat. And of course, again, towards the end of the video, we'll be doing, or towards the end of the live stream, sorry, we will be doing some price projections. If nobody has come up with anything, I do have a suggestion from yesterday for a coin called Gary Network. I can even talk a little bit about Shiba, of course, since we'll be talking about it anyways. And then, like I said, whatever else you guys got. And then, like I said, that would be the last part of the video, or the live stream, is live projections. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into the first thing. Now, this is not going to be the alt season thing just yet. I just wanted to give a quick update on Bitcoin. I think that's kind of a good place to start the streams every day. Not a whole lot to say other than it's still looking more and more like the ideas we've put out the last few days. Joe has also been in agreement with me that it looks like a pullback, you know, was going to happen. It hasn't happened as far as a large one yet, but we're starting to see the signs of it. You could call this a falling wedge if you wanted to. I'm actually a lot like Joe. I've seen one of his streams one day where he was talking about how he doesn't really care so much about patterns, but he does like trend lines. And I agree with that. Typically, if I'm drawing a pattern, I'm not paying that much attention to the lower trend line anyway, unless it lines up with support. So for example, let's just say that this was to stay inside of this little falling wedge all the way until here, you know, or somewhere around here. Sure, this would be confluence because it's my zone of support and the lower trend line, in which case, if you were looking for a short-term trade, maybe to the upside, or looking for a bounce, that would make sense. However, if there's a touch on the bottom side of a trend line, a lower trend line that is, and there's no support nearby, I view that as irrelevant in my opinion. Top trend lines are honestly the same. If it breaks out, let's just say that there was a falling wedge here while we're on this topic. Let's say there was a falling wedge happening like right here, and price action was coming down in this falling wedge. You guys can see that. Let's say it broke out right there. Well, just because it broke out of a falling wedge right there, in my opinion, it would be breaking out and hitting a major level of resistance. So I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a positive thing, not until it actually broke above the resistance. So anyway, that's just a little short TA. Other than that, I just wanted to mention that Bitcoin still looks like it wants to pull back. Our short-term target for that, of course, would just be the upper side of the zone. Could take a few days, could take a week to play out, could see a bounce in between, maybe a little miniature bear trap or something like that. Crypto's pretty much being moved around, I feel like, right now by the market makers and the whales, just kind of waiting for something exciting to happen. What they're really doing, in my opinion, is this is the time where you really shouldn't be trading, because a lot of times the TA that you're putting out there when there's not a lot of retail going on in the market just yet, we'll call it the boring time, it's easy to get tricked. And it's just because, there's not as much money flowing into crypto right now, at least not as much dumb money. And so you're basically trying to trade against the smart, the elite of the elite. So unless you've got unless you've got a lot of practice, the odds are you're just going to get chopped up and spit out. So Bitcoin probably going to keep pulling back. Wouldn't be surprised if there is some short bounces in between, but the target somewhere around 61K, as low as probably 59.5, and then we'll just revisit it from there. Okay, so alt season. When we're talking about alt seasons, let me check real quick with chat. Rigo's in the house. Man, alt's getting knocked out, yo. Teo almost 250. Well, that's probably good. We could talk about that towards the end of the video. I think that if you have some altcoins you've been looking at that you haven't entered yet, you should be getting excited, because if you were looking at Teo, say a month and a half or 2 months ago, or 3 months ago, or whenever it was that it was sitting up at like $700 or whatever it got to, from there, from that price, probably 3x might be the most it gets. 3 to 5x, right? If it gets really going from that point. But now, if you enter at 250, for it to get to that same price of 2,000, you're looking at like between 8 and a 10x, right? It's a big difference. So whether you're adding to positions on these pullbacks, these larger ones, or opening up new ones, I think it's a positive thing. So the first chart we're going to look at that I pay attention to, or at least one of the few charts that I look at as far as alt season goes, or just trying to get some clues for when a potential alt season could happen, we want to look at this Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. Now, I know there are some traders that literally look at almost all their coins versus Bitcoin before trading them. That's not something that I do, so I won't spend a ton of time trying to pretend that I do or give you too much insight on that. But as far as alt seasons go, all you're looking at when you're looking at a coin versus Bitcoin, I don't know if you can see that, probably not very well up here on the top left, but this is what I have pulled up on TradingView. It's Ethereum BTC, so ETH BTC. And so instead of it being against USDT or USDC or USD, right, instead of it going against the dollar, then what you're looking at is how it's performing against Bitcoin. So if this is going up, it doesn't necessarily mean the price of Ethereum for sure is going up, but it does mean it is going up at a higher, or it's outperforming Bitcoin. If they're both pulling back, it might mean Bitcoin's just pulling back faster. If they're both going up, it just means Ethereum is going up a little bit, faster. And same thing with when it's going down. It just means up or down that Ethereum is either outperforming Bitcoin or underperforming it. So if you look at this kind of long, drawn out, we'll call it a falling wedge, but really all we care about is this top trend line. This is the weekly chart, by the way. You can see that Ethereum has been underperforming versus Bitcoin. It did have a little rally here back in July of 2022, but for the most part, since then, all you've seen is a series, which this is the definition literally of a falling wedge, is a series of highs, lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. Basically that's what you have. It's just a trend that's in this direction until proven otherwise. And by proven otherwise, I mean some sort of a breakout and a higher high, right? You need to see a trend reversal. So this is the first clue I look for. based on how it's performing against Bitcoin, because typically if alts are going to have a sustained run, not just like a day or two, or of course they go up when Bitcoin goes up, but often you're better off being in Bitcoin. What I mean is an actual alt season where we maybe see weeks, possibly even a month or two, if we're lucky, of altcoins really just taking off, right? We know that Ethereum's kind of like well, it's not kind of like, it is the daddy of the altcoins, right? It's the biggest altcoin there is. So it's kind of like the leader, right? If it's going to start outperforming Bitcoin, then it basically shows a transition from the smart money from Bitcoin more heavily. A lot of times they've already got Ethereum, you know, because it's one of the better coins to hold, but they're transitioning more capital out of Bitcoin into Ethereum. And, you know, often Bitcoin is still going up, the best for an alt season to begin, but you're going to see Ethereum start going up faster. Burn, baby, burn, says Patel. I wonder what that's in a reference to. Is it a Gary Gensler meme? A coin I got wrecked on last run. Have not looked at SCLP in a minute. I remember trading that. That was one of that probably at least was one of the gem picks in the old group we were in. I feel like any low cap coin that was on KuCoin eventually became a gem pick on there, and kind of a laughing thing. But anyway, next chart for the idea of alt seasons or when they could potentially happen is of course the one that most people look at, which is the Bitcoin dominance chart. And I fall into the category of most. I do think it's a chart that gives many clues as to when that could happen. What you're looking for here, now if we look back here, I don't expect us to see this dominance personally ever again. I could be wrong, maybe we do go up there, but I don't think we see 73% dominance out of Bitcoin this bull run. However, you can see that this was clear the heck up here, right? And then it just had this epic, if you were part of it, last bull run, alt season. And more or less, this was just altcoins, you know, tremendously outperforming Bitcoin, right? Therefore, that's why this chart goes down. For those of you that are new to this chart, that's literally the easiest way to look at it. Is it's just showing you what percentage of money is in Bitcoin. And if this chart's going up, it typically means that Bitcoin's either going up or at least it's outperforming the altcoins. So in comparing it side by side with them, if Bitcoin's going up, and you know dominance is going up and Bitcoin's going up, it means it's going up at a higher rate than the altcoins are, right? Ethereum and so on. The reverse of that could be that Bitcoin's going down, but altcoins are going down more, which is kind of what's been happening really for the past 3 months, right? Bitcoin's been ranging, but it's been pulling back and putting in lower highs slowly, but this is trending up, which just means altcoins are bleeding more than Bitcoin. While Bitcoin's down, you know, X percent, altcoins are down a lot bigger percent, you know, on a whole, at least, you know, on average. So on this chart, what we'd want to look for in confluence with Ethereum beginning to outperform Bitcoin would be some major level of resistance getting a rejection on a higher time frame. In this case, you know, we're on the daily. That's kind of the one I tend to look at. We could even look at the weekly. I don't use any really indicators on this chart. You can look at them. You know, there's obviously, this is the stochastic RSI, the regular RSI, and the MACD. Once in a while I'll peek at them, but I don't really feel like they're super relevant on this chart. But what I do look for is these major zones of resistance, which we have one coming up here at around 57 to 58%. You can see price action has interacted with it in the past. Each time it got above it in the past over here between 2019 and 2020, of course, it continued to rally up. However, again, like I said, I don't know that we'll see that high of dominance again, but we could see either this zone or the zone above. And in my opinion, I'd almost rather see the zone above. A scenario where that could play out would be Bitcoin breaking down, altcoins breaking down even more, meaning Bitcoin's outperforming them still, even as it pulls back. Maybe we see this break through this and go all the way up here. If we could get some sort of a dominance in the 60%, right around 60% range, all that means is that there's a potentially longer alt season. And to me, that's more exciting. Because for example, down here, when we were ranging in between here for quite some time, every time this pulled back, this was an alt season, right? But it wasn't an epic alt season. And sometimes by the time, you know, retail got in and everybody got excited, it was over, right? And then it trended back up and alts bled, and then Altseason happened again, rinse and repeat. But if we want to see something to this magnitude, then we want to see Bitcoin dominance go a little bit higher, right? So that's kind of my thought process on that. I also like to add to that just the Ethereum chart itself. That should be kind of obvious that if we're looking at ETH versus BTC and we see that it's outperforming Bitcoin, we want to also see that it's actually going up. I don't really care too much personally if it's outperforming Bitcoin but going down, because if it's going down and Bitcoin's going down, then altcoins are likely going down. And at that point, I don't care which one's going down a little bit more than the other. I'm in this market to make money, and when we're in a bull market, which I still believe we are, then I'm more looking for longs than I am shorts. To me, you don't want to trade against the overall trend, which in my opinion, we've been in an uptrend since the bottom of the bear market, since 15K. It's just a matter of what's going to be that next higher low for Bitcoin. So that being said, we can look at Ethereum here, and once it begins to show signs of strength, of breaking out, which you could probably, I don't have this one charted up, I think I reset it the other day. We won't do any in-depth TA on Ethereum, but you can see clearly we've got a zone here that was resistance on a few occasions. Most recently, it's being rejected at that. If we were to flip this at the same time as Bitcoin ranging and Ethereum versus BTC going up and Bitcoin dominance going down, basically the three charts we've looked at, that could signal if Ethereum dominance is if Bitcoin dominance is at a major level of resistance, the beginning of an Altseason. So that's kind of what we'll be looking for. This is something I will update on at least once a week on my streams. I won't talk about it every day. That would bore you to death, I'm sure. And I don't really think that we're going to see any major changes on it day to day, especially on daily and weekly time frames. However, we will still update on it because really this is what we're all waiting for to make money. We're waiting for that big move out of altcoins, right? We did have a little bit of an alt. Alts did well when Bitcoin broke 70K. But when you look at the actual dominance, they didn't necessarily outperform Bitcoin, at least not as a whole. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on from that topic there. We're now going to talk about, let's see here. Anybody have any questions while we're at it real quick? I don't know why we lost our topic two. Let's see. There we go. Shiba Inu is going to actually be our second topic of discussion. Now, not because I think Shiba is the greatest coin that was ever made or anything like that. I just think it's a fun coin to trade. And when it made its last big move, I actually happened to be in a trade at the time. It wasn't anything that turned out to be epic. But those of you that were part of my Telegram group, I was posting updates actually on that trade. And maybe that was a good chance to shield that real quick for those of you that are new to my stream or new, watching this video later that aren't part of my Telegram group. There is a link in the description of every one of these videos that I put out, all of my regular videos as well as my live streams. And there's about 50, 60 members in there, 10 to 12 active ones, a couple really active ones that are awesome. Like, we got Patel, we got Joe, who joined my group recently. He has his own YouTube channel. I would recommend subscribing to that. He's awesome. But he does chime in now and then in our Telegram group now. We've got Rigo. We've got some cool guys in there. We discuss, crypto, of course, because it is a crypto channel. Completely free. We don't offer anything in there at the current time that I would be consider charging for. Obviously down the line, that'd be nice if we came up with some sort of reason to, but for the time being, it's free, which benefits you. We do a little bit of TA if you ask questions in there and that need a TA answer, I'll do my best to respond to those, of course. And if for some reason I don't know the answer, I could probably point you in the direction of someone that does. But anyway, that link will be in the description if you feel like joining that group, and we look forward to seeing you in there. Now, SHIB right now at the time of this live stream is sitting at position number 12. Now, it's fluctuated. I want to say it made it as high as like 10 or 9 or something last bull run. I could be wrong. We'll look that up in a little bit and confirm that, at least towards the top of the last bull run. But right now it's number 12, which means it's just outside of the top 10. So it is a large cap coin. Now, where I don't have as much time as I previously have had working full time and having a kid now to sit and stare at charts, all day long, I don't do much day trading anymore. In fact, I haven't done any day trading really since that SHIB trade that we just talked about. That was kind of a day trade. I had been eyeing it though for weeks and weeks. But as far as how I entered and how I took some profits, it was something I stared at for days on end. But typically at this point, I'm more of a swing trader. I'm looking for bigger moves, and some of the safer coins to do that with, in my opinion, is the larger caps, right? They're not going to move as fast up or down typically, but the reason why I choose SHIB is because sometimes when it decides to move almost like a mid or small cap coin. It moves very, very aggressively. So looking at its chart, the reason why I wanted to bring it up is we've got a major area here, a green zone, that I believe, at least in the midterm. Now, if you were, like I say midterm, I say that as in swing trading, as in possibly a trade you would hold for several weeks and more likely months, and maybe even the duration of the bull run. At least that's how I am looking at this chart right now. And what I'm looking at here is it's a large zone of support, and it's between the 15. Now, granted, SHIB has these 8 million zeros because it has like a trillion freaking coins, so its price is always interesting to look at, but we won't worry about the zeros. So if I'm saying something like 18, just know that I mean 000, 400 zeros, and then 18, right? So between 15 and basically where we're at now is a large zone of support, previous supports, previous resistances. It's had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different interactions, 6 most recently back here in April. Now, because Bitcoin looks like it wants to break down, I wouldn't necessarily suggest buying any SHIB right now. At least I wouldn't look to. That is, unless it's able to find some support, Bitcoin breaks down, retests lower price, and it starts to recover. Then maybe you are able to get it right where it's at now. But what I'm looking for when it comes to SHIB, let me get rid of what I just marked there, is maybe a test of this lower zone, the lower end of this zone. This area that's been, like we said, tested down here on a couple occasions. And you could probably even make this its own zone. In fact, let's do that, just so that this makes sense what I'm saying. It's gonna look weird because this isn't normally how I would make a chart, but just want to kind of show, and we'll put this in a different color. If you were looking for a good entry on Shiba for kind of a midterm trade, let's just make this yellow so it stands out differently than the green. Anywhere between this like 14 and 15.5 could potentially be a good place to start. If you had some money set aside, not financial advice, let's just say it was $200 or something, I wouldn't buy all 200 there. We don't know yet when Bitcoin potentially breaks down where it's going to stop, right? And how far alts will go. But one thing we can look at in confluence with support is things like fib retracement levels. So let's go ahead and go from this low down here up to this upper, the top that happened most recently in March. And we can see some areas down here. So the lower zone that I just talked about is the 786. Now, a lot of traders subscribe to the idea that if a coin goes kind of short-term parabolic, which I believe would be the very definition of what this did, right? This is over the course of literally like a week. This coin went up something like 350%, right? That would be definitely the definition of parabolic. Well, there's a lot of traders believe that the 786 is a very common retrace for coins that do that. The 618 is considered the golden pocket. A lot of times if there's natural pullbacks that happen in a natural price, doesn't go up quite so fast, that's kind of the first area a lot of traders look at. However, we can see that we're breaking down from the 618, and the 786 could be the next best area. And even then, on top of that, if a coin goes parabolic, a lot of times traders are looking for the 886. That's why I added it to the chart. So that could, and especially if these areas have confluence with support, the 786 clearly does. The 886, while not perfect, does have this whole area down here where it's interacted with. If we drew added a trend line here, it's flirted around there. There's a zone clearly there, somewhere between 14 and like, not 14, sorry, 7 and like 10, 9.5, something like that. So anyway, I just wanted to put Shiba on your radar. That was really the only two things I was going to mention on the chart itself. I did want to pull up Doge real quick and point out that Doge does have a tendency to lead SHIB sometimes only by a matter of hours, sometimes by like a day or two. Let me catch up with chat real fast. It looks like we had a couple of things here. What's the best time frame to monitor Bitcoin dominance? In my opinion, daily or higher. I don't feel like Bitcoin dominance. When I used to trade a little more day trade, I could say, I would sometimes go as low as the 4 hour. I think anything below that's pointless. To me, the 4 hours didn't really help me a lot in my trades. You know, obviously, if it was trending the way I wanted to on the 4 hour, I just added that as another small piece of confluence. But when you're looking for bigger sustained moves, one direction or the other, I would say daily. Daily is the time frame on the Bitcoin dominance I look at the very most. That was Patel asking that question about Bitcoin dominance. Rigo says, is SHIB still building? What's the new about SHIB? You know what? The fundamentals of SHIB, I have no idea. Now, let's do a follow-up on one of my next streams, since this is a coin I'm obviously talking about, because I plan on trading it. So if I plan on trading it, I ought to probably peek into the fundamentals. Clearly, it's doing either something right, or it's at the very least not screwing up whatever it is doing, because, you know, I don't feel like a coin like this should pump quite that much if it's, you know, completely a scam. Now, whether or not it warrants that type of price, the answer would definitely be no. But that's 95% of crypto, right? Maybe even 99% of crypto. But that being said, we will peek in on SHIB, see if I can do it. In fact, you know what? I'm putting out a price projection video later tonight for SHIB. I actually made it up last night. I just need to finish editing it, and then I'll get it posted. And then maybe I'll do a follow-up to that with some actual fundamentals, or just peek in on what's going on with SHIB, make sure it's still alive and well and doing whatever it is that it supposedly does, right? Which I don't even know. I think it's like a SHIB swap or something. I believe it's like a swap DEX or something. I don't know. If I'm wrong, then I apologize. I don't know. I just don't know. Okay, so going back to what I was saying about Doge. Now, Doge here on the daily time frame, when it really started making its move, and what I mean by really making its move is you can kind of see that we had a little zone back here of previous resistance, right? Resistance, resistance. Well, once it broke above that resistance and started making its big move, that happened on February 28th. Well, SHIB, on the other hand, let's go ahead and clear up some of what I had going on here. Brush, get rid of all these brushes. And get rid of the tool real quick so it's out of your guys' way, and we'll zoom in a little bit. But the same thing where you basically had it break out of its pattern, break above some previous resistance. We'll call this little zone here. It's same kind of idea, right? That Doge had, where it had a zone where it had been rejected at on a few occasions. 1, 2, 3. You know, it spent basically between the middle of April clear till the end of February underneath that price, which was around 12. Then it went, you know, parabolic. Well, that actually started to happen the 29th/1st of March. So it's like a day and a half, 2 days later, right? And the thing I like about that is basically Doge is SHIB's daddy, in my opinion, as far as meme coins go. The big daddy meme coin, maybe, and then I think SHIB's like its son. I like that it usually follows it by a day or two, because I can use the Doge chart, which usually doesn't move as much as SHIB, in my opinion. At least on the last few moves that SHIB has had, it hasn't. As a great way to trade SHIB. You know, you missed the move on Doge, but as soon as I see Doge breaking out of major resistance, I start looking to see what SHIB is doing and potentially looking to trade it. So just want to put that on your guys' radar. I appreciate Rigo bringing up the question again where you asked, is it still building? What's new about SHIB? And we're going to follow up on that in one of our coming up live streams, or at least a video. We do need to figure out if it's still relevant as far as its actual product or whatever it is that it does, its use case. Just so we can know that is it worth holding on to potentially as a midterm trade, or is something going to come out about SHIB in the near future that wrecks it like Luna, right? We don't want to have it. We don't want to be stuck in another Luna. Sometimes you can't predict that kind of stuff, but other times the writing could be on the wall if you look and do a little research. DYOR, do your own research. Okay. Moving on, we're only going to briefly talk about moving averages. I could have easily just read this. I mainly put this Google page here just to keep myself on point to know where I was at in the stream. But we'll go ahead and read what I typed here so we can just answer it for you as far as Google defines it. A moving average is a stock indicator commonly used in technical analysis, used to help smooth out price data by creating a constantly updated average price. All right, so if we hop over to an actual chart, we'll just use Bitcoin for an example. Now, when you add these indicators, and there's a lot of different ones you can add, we won't talk about that necessarily in this video. I just want to explain what they actually are. There's different moving averages that different traders use, and a lot of that's based on what time frames you're trading on. Some guys are all about the 9 moving average. I know that's a really popular one. I don't use it, but that's only because I've never had a strategy that involved it. However, that's a popular one. But some of the very most popular ones that I know of are the 20 or 21. That one can kind of go either way. Obviously, that's only a day difference. Some people believe the 20 is more accurate. Some people believe the 21. On my chart, this white, let me zoom way in so you can see this too. On my chart, dang it, Luna, says Rico. Yeah, that was pretty sad, that whole situation. I feel terrible for the people that lost millions and millions of dollars over that, potentially more for some people. Okay, so this white one on my chart is the 20 or 21 moving average. Now, I like to use the EMAs and the SMAs, and what I mean by that is you have what's called the SMA, which stands for simple moving average or simple moving averages, if you have those, if you have more than one on your chart. And then you have the EMAs, which is the exponential moving averages. The difference between the two, while not large, but can be depending on the time frame, is that the simple moving average will take the average of the candles on whatever time frame you're on. So in this case, we're on the weekly, right? So each of these candles represent a week. And if we're looking at the 20 moving average, that means it would take the last 20 candles, so the last 20 weeks, and whatever that average price is, it's going to be exactly where this is, right? It's just going to add those 20 up, divide it by 20 or whatever, and then that's going to be where that's at. Now the exponential moving average, which I don't have on here for the 20, but what it is it just puts more weight or more value to the more recent price action. So if you were on like the 20 moving average, I don't know the exact amount of weight it puts on at what point, but it might just mean that if out of the 20, maybe the last 5 weeks, it puts a little bit more weight on. And so if the price action is going up, typically the EMA is going to be a little bit higher than the SMA, and the reverse is true if price action is going down over an extended period of time. So usually when the two deviate from each other, it's just because whatever trend the coin you're looking at is going in, the EMA is either going to be above it or below it, right? Depending on if it's up or down the price. So down here, I've got a red and a pink, and this is a good example of what I'm talking about. The red on my chart is the SMA, and the blue is the EMA. These are the 50-day moving averages, or in this case, 50-week. We're on the weekly chart, so it's taking 50 candles, like I said. So you can see, because we're in an uptrend and have been basically since, way back here in January of 2023, that out of the last 50 candles, the EMA, which is this pink one, is above the SMA because it's putting more weight on recent, candles versus the SMA that's just taking the overall average. And that's where it sits. So again, down here, same thing. This is my yellow is my 200-day moving average. That to me is one of the most popular ones also used, and it's what I usually have on my charts. And the one below it is the EMA. And the reason why that one's actually below is because if you go back 200 weeks, it's taking into a lot of account all of this back here, which still has not had enough price action go to the upside to outweigh that, if that makes sense. So if we were to sit and count all 200 of these candles, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 200, we'd probably see that back here somewhere is where the 200 ends, and that there hasn't been enough weeks of positive to, bring this EMA back above the SMA. So I wanted to point that out. There's a few other things in regards to moving averages that a lot of people use in trading, or at least in confluence with other ideas. There's what's called a golden cross, which is going to be whenever the 50, and you could do this on the EMA or the SMA. I prefer on golden crosses and things to use the SMA. In fact, I use the SMA the majority of the time. The reason why I have both up is just because a lot of traders use both or one or the other, and I just like to see where they're at. But the 50, which on my chart would be the red, so this would have actually been a golden cross on the weekly time frame right here. Happened back on the beginning of January of 2024. It's the 50 moving above the 200. Obviously, it needs to be the SMA in both cases. You wouldn't call it a golden cross if the 50 EMA moved above the 200 SMA, if that makes sense. Needs to be the same genre, whatever you want to call that, the same type, right? Chat, no one's got anything else to say in there just yet, so that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that. Now, I will leave you with this in regards to moving averages. To me, they're very useful to have on your chart. You're looking at areas where coins could potentially bounce, but the biggest and most important thing is you want to use them in confluence with other ideas, and above all, support and resistance. So for example, we're over here on the SPX or the S&P 500. Let me go ahead and hide my drawings. For those of you that are new to TradingView but maybe didn't know this is pretty useful if you just need to hide some stuff. There's a little toolbar over here on the left. You can click this little eyeball and hit hide drawings, and that cleans up all the stuff I have on there. That way I don't have to either delete them or go over here to the right and manually sit and close them all. I can just hide them all. That way it's a little cleaner for you guys to see. Now the S&P 500 is a great example of a chart where you could use these 200s and see that it likes to bounce off them. As soon as you start drawing, of course, it brings back the drawing. So sorry about that. I will not draw. I'll just circle with my mouse. So you can see that it bounced there on the 200s. Bounced again here, continued up. This was COVID. However, it didn't spend much time below there. You know, the 200 definitely during a bear market, as far as the S&P 500 is concerned, can be a magnet and a very good area for bouncing. So investors that are looking for long-term opportunities in the stock market will pull up these moving averages, line them up with support and resistance. So let's go ahead and bring back up my drawings. You might see that, hey, this was a major top right here, right? Or a major breakout area from a previous top after COVID before it went on this crazy rally. Well, when we had the bear market in the S&P 500, well, the confluence of the 200 moving averages lined right up with this little zone of previous resistance turned support. So that's what I mean by confluence. Putting different ideas together, moving averages by themselves. There are people that will do trading strategies completely related to moving averages. I don't personally find that to be super successful, but if there's someone out there that you follow that does, great. You know, of course, there's always going to be outliers and people that are able to find tricks. But as far as long-term, you know, charts that you're looking to invest in, I just use it as confluence with other ideas, and again, above all, support and resistance. So of course, if you're seeing a major moving average, price actions approaching it, and that moving average is sitting on major support, odds are you're going to see at least a bounce short term or potentially long term, depending on the time frame, at that area. So that would be the moving averages. Looks like we got about 15 to 20 minutes left on our stream. So we're going to go ahead and hop over to topic number 4, sorry. And this is going to be our live projections. Now, if we don't have anything to talk about besides that Gary coin and maybe SHIB, then we can just end the stream a little early. But again, guys, if you have any coins you really want me to look at, or if you just want to suggest me to make a video, you know, I do have my playlist. You'll see it at the end of the live stream. It'll pop up on the screen, or you could, of course, search through my videos and find them. But I've made about 30 videos where I'm doing price projections based on this little formula or chart that I've come up with. I want to quickly explain for those that watch this that are new to the stream, either that are here now or that watch this later, what this is. I do explain it in every one of my price projection videos, but if you've never seen those, then this is going to look very foreign to you. And all that it is I've come up with some different Bitcoin projections, so different prices for Bitcoin. Now, I couple that with what I believe is a safe Bitcoin dominance projection. Again, Bitcoin dominance just means what percentage of the overall money in crypto is Bitcoin going to take up itself. So 47.5% is on the safer side, in my opinion. We've discussed this in some previous live streams, but what it basically was in the past was right around like 40 to 43, 40 a couple bull runs ago, 43 last bull run, or sorry, vice versa, I want to say. It's like 43 in 2017, 2018 top, and it was about 40, 41 or something this last bull run. I'm definitely going on the safer side of 47.5%. So I've come up with these projections where I take the price of Bitcoin, and then I apply, of course, what could the overall market cap be, and then after that, of course, we have to subtract what the percentage of Bitcoin's taking up of that. And then we have these different percentages. You could call them dominance if you wanted to, like what is the percent of the overall market cap does each of these positions take up. And the way that I came up with that, and it's obviously not perfect, there's definitely going to be many, many variables that could change with this. Number one being the dominance, of course. Number two just being that money could flow completely differently in positions this bull run versus last. But what I did is I used this website, coincodex.com, codex being C-O-D-E-X, so it's the word coin, codex, and then .com. And this website, you can actually come on here and it'll have you select a date. So for example, we put in November 10th of 2021, just because that was where Bitcoin topped the last bull run. You could even go as far as putting in a time. So let's just put, for example, 11 a.m. and hit submit. This is going to pull up the top 100 coins by market cap as of that date and time, right? So it says that the overall crypto market cap was 3.06 trillion. It tells you how much volume was going on. You can see right here, like I said, that when Bitcoin was pretty close to topping, which if you look down here, Bitcoin was at 68,500-ish at that time. So that's really close to about where it topped. Its dominance was actually only around 42.5%. I'm projecting 47.5%, again, on the safer side, so that my projections, if anything, get exceeded, which I think would be a good thing. I don't care if somebody gets the last laugh on me because I was wrong to the low side. I just don't want to be super wrong to the upside. I don't want to be one of those hopium channels that gives you prices that are, one, either unrealistic, or, two, if I've got data like this that I've put together, why would I go ahead and put something like, oh, Bitcoin dominance is going to be at 20%, when clearly we can see based on just the history of the dominance, again, if we go back over here to that chart, that it's the lowest it's ever been back here, which was 35%, and it spent the entire last bull run, whenever it bottomed out, at about 40%, 39, just over 39%. So it would be kind of irresponsible of me to suggest that this bull run that it's going to randomly go down to 25 or something, right? So by doing 47.5%, I'm saying this bull run might be a little more Bitcoin dominant overall. And if I'm wrong, great, right? So again, let's hop back over here to kind of continue what I was explaining on here. So what I did is I went down through all of these positions 1 through 100, and eventually, because this chart will go as high as 500, to get rid of some of this. This chart likes to be weird. You gotta get it in the right spot before it'll finally bring up what it's supposed to do. Alright, I've always had issues with this, where when I try to click this top 100 by market cap, it should have a drop down that lets you pick as high as 500. For some reason, sometimes it just doesn't come up. Pops up other stuff, so maybe I need my IT guy. Patel, my IT man, what am I doing wrong? Who knows? We'll come back and try it again in a minute. Point being is, I went down through each of these positions, 1 through 100, and eventually through 500. Took a lot of work, but I took the market caps when Bitcoin topped, and I figured out what percent of the overall market cap, which in this case was 3.06, did that coin occupy. Now, granted, once you get inside the top 10, there's a giant difference, especially inside the top 20 to 25. There becomes a large difference between just a few positions. I don't know that that'll be the case this bull run, or at least won't be the exact way. And what I mean by that is the difference between position 25, which was 9 billion, if you can see that on my screen here, versus like position 15, which was 17. That's almost double. Whereas once you start getting out to the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, then, the difference between 70 and 80 is very small, really. I mean, it might be, we can go down here to like position number 75, for example. It's 2.2 billion, and position 85 is 1.74 billion. Now, granted, that's a fair amount, but in comparison to up here, it's very minimal, right? So what I still did, though, is I went through and I took a snapshot of every single one of these position ranks, 1 through, like I said, 500 basically. And that's the numbers you're looking at over here on this chart, is that percentage of what it was taking up out of the overall crypto market cap, the total as they call it. And so then I just came up with projected totals based on these Bitcoin prices, and then that gives me these projected market caps based on those positions and those Bitcoin prices. So you could take, for example, position like number 10 here, and you could say, okay, well, what if Bitcoin reaches 150K? You can scroll down and across from 10 and say, okay, that would be 72.36 billion, or projected at least by my formula to be 72.36 billion. And then you could apply that to your coin. And then I've even took it a step further for those that could look at this chart. And I also want to mention real quick that I do put this chart It's actually, I have it shareable, or whatever it's called. It's shared to where you can actually view it. You can't edit it, but I leave the link to this as a pinned comment in every one of my price projection videos. I need to add it to the actual description of these live videos as well, so I'll remember to do that for this one, especially since we're talking about it. But I'll start making that something that's part of those constantly in every video going forward. But you can also, in case you're confused, you can come over here to the right in blue, and I have how you do the formula. So for example, if you're just projecting a market cap for a coin, which is what this is, and you have the potential ranking, which is how you got that market cap projection, all you would do is take that market cap, divide it by whatever your coin's circulating supply is. So for example, we'll go over here to this Gary coin that was suggested yesterday for me to look at. Its circulating supply here is 459 million and some odd, right? So I could copy that number. Let's right click it and copy it. Come back over here to this here. So I could say market cap. So let's say that Gary, which was at, I think, let's look at it again. It was at position like 2,500 or something, or 1,500. It's at position ranked 1,500. But let's just say magically that it gets a little bit of momentum towards the end of the bull run and is able to reach something like position 500, which is as far as I can go on here, which would be down here. And then I believe G column should be our 150K Bitcoin, right? Let's scroll back up just to double check that so I don't misspeak. Sorry, H column is 150K Bitcoin. It's like I haven't finished my I column for the 180, but okay, so we have 126. Now this is million, by the way, not billion. At a certain point, you can see kind of up here, this is like 1.2 billion, 1.07 billion, and then it switches over to being such small caps that we're in the millions. So 126 million, I can take that market cap. Let me go back up here so you can see the formula as I'm doing this. I just want to be very slow and clear on how I come up with these, so those of you that are new to this or want to take the time to apply these to coins, that you understand how I'm doing it. So we got the market cap, which was 126 million, I believe. So we type that in. We divide it by the circulating supply, which I actually copied, so we're just going to paste it, and then we can hit equal, and that's going to give us a price. So for example, with Gary, this came up with like 27.5 cents. Well, Gary right now is at 17 cents. Sorry, 1 cent. It's not even at 2 cents. So that'll be a pretty good sizable, in fact, what did I say, 27.5. We could divide that by 0.0, the current price, which is that just under 2 cents, and that means it'd be a 15x. So based on 150K Bitcoin on my formula and Gary Network going from position 1500 where it's at now, or 1495 anyway, all the way up to position 500, this would give us a projected 15x. Actually, it's basically a 16x, just under 16. So that would be pretty incredible. I'm not suggesting it's going to do that. In fact, I don't know anything about Gary Network. Just had a person in my chat yesterday ask me about it. I did pull a few things up about it just because I was curious. But obviously, I'm not going to go over too much because it's not a coin that I hold or that I am trying to shill or anything. But apparently, it's some sort of like a social network. People stream on here and make money. They have an app and everything. It seems like it's still active. The Twitter page was still active. And when I got to their chart, if it was a coin that you were interested in, I mean, clearly it's been accumulating for a really, really, really long time now. But what I don't like about its chart is whatever happened here. I don't know what happened here. I tried to do a little research last night, something about, because it's such a small cap coin and one seller, I guess, must have been able to move the market that much, which is kind of scary on these. I mean, that can happen with low cap, so maybe it really literally is all that happened. And that is just the risk at the end of the day and being in a coin that is that small cap. That being said, if it is still active and you believe in this coin or you hold it and you're hoping for it to do something, I mean, it's accumulating for a long period of time. I mean, when you zoom out on this coin, it's got potential for, even if it just goes back up to this price, which it clearly has support on a couple different occasions. This zone that's between like 25 and 26 cents. If it were to get back up to that, which is oddly enough, right, what I calculated, right? And I calculate something around that just a minute ago on the price projection, 150K Bitcoin. I mean, that's going to be a pretty good sizable gain if it were to do that at some point. But I need to do a little more research on it to be over 1,000% gain, actually. Let me see what Joe has to say. Gary is trash. Hey, I'm glad you said that. Maybe you've done your research on it. Again, like I said, I'm trying to walk on eggshells here with this. I'm just mentioning it as an example with the price formula. I know nothing about this coin, and I don't have a clue if they were being honest on what I read about why this happened. To me, it seems a little sketchy, even for a small cap, to sell off this much. It either meant that all of the coins were being held by like 1 or 2 wallets, which is obviously not a good thing, or that they had some sort of an actual crash, a hack, something of that nature, right? Something like, we've seen it happen with larger cap coins, like I believe Rune. I remember last bull run, it got hacked at one point. It was able to recover. Sometimes these small cap coins aren't able to recover. And just because they're still active on Twitter might just be because they're trying to hope to take advantage of the bull run, right? We're in a bull run right now. They know that prices for most things are going to go up. Maybe the tech's no longer there. The team's no longer doing any updates to the actual, infrastructure or the product or whatever it is they have, whatever Gary Network is, like I said, some sort of a streaming platform. So anyway, I'll finish reading what Joe said. I get some people asking about it on my show and other shows I watch. 1 or 2 people ask about it. I did a deep dive, made a video on it. Okay, so for those of you that don't know Joe, and those of you that do, obviously, then you can go watch his video he made on it. You should already be subscribed to his channel. I recommend it every day on my videos now. But for those of you that are new to the channel, in chat, there's a guy named Joe. Trade Intuition is actually how I should probably refer to him, since that's what you're seeing his name under. That's his YouTube channel, Trade Intuition. His name is Joe, really cool guy. He does a live stream every day at 3 p.m. Eastern time. His live streams are very, very chill, as far as a lot more of interaction with chat determining what he talks about. He'll always have a few topics as well that he, seems to have planned beforehand to talk a little bit about, like today with his USDT dominance. But I've also been to a couple of his streams where he just basically says, hey, you guys, mention some coins and I'll talk about them. And so he must have been having a stream like that recently where somebody asked about Gary. That's what happened to me yesterday. Somebody just asked about it. I don't know if it's someone that holds it that's just praying to get out of it, if it's a member of their team that's hoping to put some eyes on it. Who knows? The project Gary can make money, but nothing like any other coin. Well, and that's a good point that Joe just made. Gary, the small cap coin, it's ranked 1500. If it happens to have a rally at some point, maybe one similar to what I said, or even a third of that, yes, there's money to be made there. But when there's so many crypto coins and so many that are actually either doing something positive or at least are new and promising something positive and have the actual eyes on them, whether the eyes are just other YouTubers, maybe their Telegram groups, whatever it may be, they're going to be much safer, right? I guess what I'm getting at is there's safer coins to trade. These coins like these are super, super, super high risk. And I don't even know if the high reward part even comes close to outweighing the risk. Whereas some coins, or a lot of coins in the bull market, are just lower risk. I mean, all crypto is risky, and if you don't know what you're doing, or you don't ever hit the sell button, you don't take profits, of course you're going to not make money. But why put a bunch of capital into a coin that had a drop of 85% over the course of basically a day and a half, and has not recovered since then? From where it basically went down, it's just been going slowly down more. So anyway, that would be all I had to say about that coin. Anybody have any other coins they want to talk about? And if no one does, before we end the stream, I can maybe take a quick peek at one other coin. It is about time for me to probably sign off anyway, so my next video, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to start ending my live streams with some price projections, just because eventually we're going to get more people on the streams. I'm still new to streaming. I've got my diehards, or my loyal, we'll call them my loyal watchers, which of course Joe's become one, and I really appreciate that because he's a busy guy, doesn't need to take his time to watch me stream, but he does, and that's so cool of him. But we got Rigo that shows up, Patel showed up today. These are guys that are part of my Telegram group, or just good friends out just in the real world, right? And it's nice that they're showing up, and I do appreciate that. But over time, more will show up, and we'll end our streams out talking about price projections. This formula that I came up with, that I just spent 10 or 15 minutes explaining, I'm pretty proud of it. I don't think it's perfect. In fact, it's probably far from it, but it's a lot better starting point than just pulling up a chart and saying, I think this coin will go to said price because I think it, right? So, any rate, like I said, leave comments if anybody has any coins they want me to go over in future live streams, or if you want to just show up to my next live stream. I will not be streaming tomorrow. Tomorrow is Wednesday. Our baby we pick up early from daycare, and in fact, tomorrow he's not going to daycare. My 15-month-old is getting tubes put in his ears. He's had a lot of ear infections since he was born. I think that's something that I passed on to him. I feel kind of bad about that, but I don't know if that's something that's hereditary or not, but we're going to assume that it might be, because I apparently had a lot of ear infections when I was a child. I almost had to get tubes in my ears. He's getting tubes in his ears. I don't know if you'd call it a surgery per se, because it doesn't sound like it's too intense, but definitely a procedure. They put you under anesthesia, so it's definitely right there on the border of being a surgery. They don't put him under for very long, from my understanding, so he'll be put under briefly. They'll stick a tube through his ear to help his ears drain, so that hopefully he stops getting ear infections and his nose quits running 24/7. Joe says, I love your thought process and how you explain in an easy to understand way. You know what? That's where we and you are a lot alike, my friend, because you do the same. I always catch your short videos because obviously those are quick and easy to watch, and I try to watch back some of your streams, but the little bit that I've watched on your live streams, and I've watched every single one of your shorts, you explain things amazing as well. In fact, I'd say even a step or 2 notches above myself. So I aspire to be like you, but I think that's the goal for all of us in these YouTube channels, especially right now where a lot of people are entering the space, which is a good thing. Hopefully that retail is going to come in soon, and we can educate those that take the time to watch our videos to hopefully have a good bull run, right? Make some money, because a lot of people enter the space and just blindly start buying because they watched this YouTuber who didn't, like Joe said, give the thought process at all, just said, I think this coin's going to do good, this coin's going to do good, this coin, buy, because they're going to go 10, 20, 30x without really giving you a solid reason why. Now, I'm on record as saying I don't do too many fundamentals on my channel, at least not yet. Over time I will, but right now I do focus on technical analysis. That's the point of TA with okay, right? And then also I have my price projections based on what we talked about. I'm not just blindly pulling numbers out of a hat. And Joe, like I said, is amazing at the same things. Patel, good luck to the little man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, it shouldn't be anything too intense, but of course, I'll probably say a little prayer for the dude tonight. And, my wife will text me. She's taking him to it. I'll be at work, but she'll let me know, hopefully, that it went amazing. And then he'll probably be tired because of the anesthesia, and that he'll get some rest. And he's learning to walk right now. In fact, he is walking. He just only does about 10, 12 steps falls, 10, 12 steps falls. So he's right there on the cusp of walking. So hopefully he'll, wake up from his nap recovery and be ready to run amok, right? Again, guys, I appreciate you stopping in for the stream. As always, if you haven't already and you're liking my content, please consider liking and subscribing. For those of you, again, that showed up, love you guys. I appreciate you. And I'll leave you on this final note, as I always do. Remember to invest in yourself.